Hello everyone, welcome back to Gelvin Valley, Wild Wild Wes's masterpiece for Farming Simulator 15. Of course, he did it first in Farm Sim 13, and it's been a long time since I've opened the 13 version. I think I prefer the 15 version. I think the graphics are better, and we have forestry in it. But it would be kind of interesting to pop it open for 13. I don't even know if I still have it anymore on 13. That's the first version of it that I ever played with my boys. I think by the time I moved it on to Farm Sim 15, they'd already moved on from Farm Sim period. Very, very steep field in here, but I love it. We are in the middle of planting canola. It looks like I'm emptying the planter. We are... Shoot, I think I hired this for 4 hours, and we're down to 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I don't know where all the time goes by. But it sure disappears with rapidity, both in real life and in this game. And I'm trying to plant across the hill, first off because it's a little bit easier going than just going up and down the hill, but second off, I think in real life this is what we would genuinely try to do. Actually, we probably wouldn't do it in straight lines. We would try to follow the contours of the land so that as we plant it, our drill rows would be aligned perpendicular to the hill, so that any rain and runoff and some of those kinds of things, what you want to try to do is minimize erosion. So that's what we're trying to do, I guess, in here. So yeah, just trying to get all of our fields planted. I got a couple new ones, and so I'm going to need to bring the ripper to them when I get done with these, and there's a lot of work I have this planting season, and so some of this, I don't know that I can get all this done in one day, although I gotta say we're making decent progress. Once we have this field done, actually I have 1, 2, 3 fields on this side of the valley that'll be new, so I'll be spending some more quality time on this side of the valley, but once I get this one done, I'm off to the other side, and these are much smaller fields. I'm in our largest. There'll be a lot of time on the road, in between them to take care of them, but I don't know, maybe we can get it done within a single day. It'd be nice to have all of our planting done. I'm enjoying using this very fine tractor mod to do it. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit tougher going back the other way. I almost wonder, maybe what I will do is when I get down to the bottom here, is I'm just going to drive up the side of the field and we'll come downhill again. Kind of the same thing that I'm doing now, versus just heading back up the other way and constantly having to turn uphill. It maybe all comes out in the wash, I don't know. But it might be a little smoother and easier going if I just drive up there. You know something? I took 3 rounds, but can't turn as tight as I would like. Let me turn around here. There we go. Well, so last episode, I told what I think is the final story that I remembered. I mean, there's going to be many things that come to mind. And I can't remember everything from my first summer job, other than it was just mainly manual labor a good opportunity for a kid to learn how to work, you know, all that basic stuff. And I think I also mentioned that I have this tendency to get scattered in. Oh, I also am a poor driver, but I get scattered and I don't even finish the topics, you know, that I start talking about. And so I kind of want to go backwards and revisit another topic um, that I didn't finish covering, if you will. Now, as soon as I get this one done, I think I'm going to head uphill. Because at some point here, I'm going to need to refill the cedar, and the source of that is on the top of the hill. So maybe when I get up there, and this is as gradual as this slope gets, trying to sneak up here. And there's a steeper bit right here, but I think it's overall better than the other side. But there is a topic that I hadn't finished from several episodes ago, and it was basically just talking about things that I've only done once in my life, likely will never do again. Some of them I hope to goodness I never do again. You know, I think one of them that I mentioned was going on a deep sea fishing trip. Yes, he's leaving more little bits. Urgh. Well, it is what it is. I probably need to tighten up the GPS, maybe. That's probably what I need to do. But I didn't, so there'll be a little bit of skips in it. Hopefully it doesn't have a huge impact on the crop. And again, I think it's kind of a function of the slope of the hill. Yeah, it's leaving quite a few of them. We'll just continue doing the best that we can. But there were a few other items on my list of, you know, things that I've only ever done once in my life. And like I say, this isn't just so much about me as just finding something to talk about. And I'm sure you all could build your own list quite handily, and it beat mine. And of course, anything that appears on any of our lists, you know, one man's junk is another man's treasure, of course. So, but anyway, I think one of the last things that I mentioned was going to see Atomic 67. You know, there's more even that I could say about that. I miss him. You know, and here we are as I record this. We're coming up on the end of the year of 2024. And so it would have been a couple years ago that we went down there, and I'm coming up on 2 years to the date of when he passed away, and it's hard to believe he's gone, and I dearly wish he was still around. There's a lot of conversations I know we could have had, but can't. And some may say, get over it, that's life, but what can I say? You miss friends when they're taken from you, especially when it seems too soon. Did I say I was going to go? I think I did say I was going to go get some seed here. I'm jabbering and I totally forgot all about it. Worrying over my plant job here. Maybe I'll make it to the end and I'll go fetch my tractor and get it filled. But the next item that I have on my list is once in a lifetime. I don't imagine I'll be down there again, but shoot, I don't know. I rode the Wairika steam train. It was called the Blue Goose Excursion Train. You know, I've been on a few of those around the area, and I know I've told people in here where I live, kind of in the Willamette Valley of Oregon, there's a few excursion trains kind of in the area. Not real local here, but one I went on, you know, was up in Hood River. It's just north of Mount Hood, kind of on the northern edge of the state, if you will. So I know there's one up in there. I think my wife took me on that one once for one of my birthdays. Another birthday, we went on an excursion train ride from, I think that started up in Portland, and it went to the coast. So, well, I don't know how many 100 miles that is. It was a day trip. I think we got, when we got out there, we went clear out to Astoria. Whoop! Oh, whoa, Nelly. We need a refill. Here we go. And I know there's a couple other such trains. I know there's some over in Central Oregon, you know, where that I could go to. Oh, I guess we're over here. And I do enjoy it. I mean, if Farming Sim didn't exist, I would be playing train games most likely. That's actually a topic I want to have at some point here. Ah, good. That's wide enough. It picks that up. Take a filling. We'll use up some of the cash we have in the bank and put it to use by planting it in the ground. Right. Okay, so let me go back here, get him out of the road. We're kind of parking crossways. We don't want any... Wouldn't that be cool if the brakes failed and things went down the hill? I almost think I have a mod that would do that, so you have to set the brakes to, before you just go off somewhere. Alright, we are planting again. So the steam train excursion, I mean, it was a real steam train. You know, we don't have those much around anymore, so you kind of got to go to special places to see them. Usually you got to go to a museum to see them, but at the museum, of course, unless it's some kind of specialty place, and trains, of course, you got to have track to have them on, so even if they are in working order at a museum, they really can't take them anywhere, you know, unless they're somehow connected to a track network. So oftentimes it seems these excursion or dinner trains or whatever you call them, they're in some special location where maybe there once was a short line and somehow some local group finagled a way to purchase a line or procure rights to it, and they find an engine to put on it, especially a steam engine. You know, the talent that it takes to run one of those, you know, doesn't just grow on trees, and nor is it just relegated to, man, I'm skipping lots in here. I don't really like this one bit. But nor do I want to come through and just, well, but I only have this tractor for a limited period of time, so I maybe just have to make an executive decision here that I'm going to chalk this up to a little poor planning with GPS on a hill, and it's going to be what it's going to be. Yeah, that's going to be some gaps. Shucks. Yeah, so this is taking my yield down, probably ultimately, by not planting every square inch of the field. Yeah, this GPS, it's just outside of the line. It's pretty good about determining how wide a vehicle is. Yeah, now that I think about it, I know on some of the other, I just didn't instinctively do it on this one. I know I've done it with some of the other equipment that I've used, like the windrower, just narrowed it up a little bit to make sure it gets full coverage. And it seems to get full coverage where it's flatter. It only seems to be on the steepest hills, you know, where there's a decent slope, you know, that it isn't taking the whole desired width. So I've been on the Wairika steam train, the Blue Goose excursion train. I think somewhere I still have pictures of it. And so they hauled us somewhere out in the boondocks. I don't remember where. This is Northern California where it was. Wairika, the town. So definitely Northern California. Probably took us to another little small town or place where we could have a meal and buy souvenirs at some exorbitant price, you know, one of those places. And then we rode back. And you know, I'm trying to remember. I almost think, see, this particular ride we took with my father-in-law, and the whole family kind of went. I don't know what the occasion was if we were down there, but I know he's kind of a trained nut too. Um, but I almost think he finagled a way to get a ride in the steam engine itself. And I don't think, I don't have a memory of being in the steam engine myself, so probably was just something that he was allowed to do, you know, to be in there. And I almost think the thing was a wood burner, but I don't remember for sure. All I know is it was steam. This is really, really bothering me. So this field is going to be filled with streaks. You know, I wonder what it looks like on the map. Let me just take a peek here. Oops, wrong way. Yeah, I can't zoom in really. You can tell there's a number of skipped areas. I guess it'll be good enough. It'll have to be good enough. But note to self, I guess, when I set it up on the other fields, I need to narrow the thing up. Take just slightly longer to cover the fields, but not that much. At worst, it probably creates one additional pass by the time you add up all these little teeny areas. But the time it would take to go back and cover all of them, yeah, I just don't want to take the time. I'm already down to 2 hours left, you know, on my time, and so I gotta keep the thing moving because it's costing me money. So have any of you ever been on a steam train excursion? And I know there's been other ones too that I've been on. I mentioned 2 others. I'm pretty sure there's been some additional ones. I don't remember them just off the top of my head. I know years ago, speaking of California, it's not exactly a place I enjoy going. It's been a long time since I've been there. Of course, the state I live in too, a state here in the U.S. isn't optimum either, but yeah, there's a lot of craziness in California. But they have some really cool stuff too. You know, and basically, not to just denigrate people in the city, but really, I have to get out into the rural areas to encounter people that make sense to me. You know, when you go to town, there's all sorts of whacked out stuff. That's where there's a lot of crime and violence, and so yeah, that's probably it more than any particular state having extra craziness here than what we have here. So I probably don't have anybody listening from California for all I know. If I do, I've maybe just offended them. Hopefully no offense is taken. But down in California, I remember a trip I took with a family. I think I was in college at the time, and we made a stop in Sacramento. I think that's where it was, capital city of California. And I think they have a railroad museum there, and we only had part of a day to spend there, as I recall. So I mean, I guess that's that could also be on the list of things I'll probably only ever do once in my life, you know, visiting that place. I think I could have spent more than several days in there just looking at all that old equipment and seeing it there. But something pretty cool tucked into the capital city of California. There's been a lot of railroading activity in California over the years. And obviously it was, you know, for the Transcontinental Railroad for the U.S., the end point was in that state. So they got a lot of back history there. And speaking still of California, another place I've only ever been once in my life, and that's all I plan to go there, if I can help it, is Disneyland. And nearby to it, a place called SeaWorld. I don't know if anybody listening's ever been to those. It's, you know, in the U.S., maybe for a lot of us, that's kind of a check-the-box kind of place, a rite of passage. You know, there are some people who go to Disneyland a lot, maybe, and then there's some of us, you know, I came from a large family, And one of the things I learned even then, and I was in college, I think, by the time our family made it to Disneyland. So I had younger siblings. I was the oldest in of the 7 kids my parents had. So it probably meant more to them. Well, I guess I don't know that. Yeah, who knows what it meant. I mean, I remember some rides. I remember exhibits. There'd be, like, I remember one exhibit in particular was you go in there and it's like this old theater type thing, or yeah, theater's probably the term for it, where you could see this wax figurine of Abraham Lincoln, and it was an animated one. He would stand up, and Walt Disney is famous for making stuff like this. Abe was sitting on a chair, and he stood up, and he would speak to us, and I seem to recall his eyes moved, his lips moved somehow, and it's like, boy, it felt like you really were back in the 1850s, 60s, or whatever, when we would have heard Abraham Lincoln speak. So they had things like that there too, and but it's a place, as much as it's kind of a rite of passage, if you will, and a lot of people go there. Maybe it's a place a lot of people could say it's kind of, they've only been there once in their life. I haven't taken my kids there, and some of it, I mean, it's for personal reasons, in my view of what the Disney company has become and what it stands for, and it's at odds with, my personal value system. And I'm not going to go into that. I mean, they still have some cool stuff, and it's like they say, it's free country. They can do whatever they want and be whoever they want, but that doesn't mean I have to give them my money. So anyway, we're on the road, and I think we're going to head over to our cow pasture, and which we typically have been cropping. At some point, I do want to get a dairy in. Oh, there's that car, kind of did a funny whoopee. Hello. Maybe it's kind of a bad thing to have that trigger. That was a long time ago that we had an episode on what we did with that, putting it in there. I always think of it at that particular intersection, because that's kind of where it is. But now I just kind of drive through cars. I don't even care about them, and maybe that's okay. But maybe I should still respect the road. Those barrels, I have no idea what that's doing down here, why they flop all over the place. Because I know if you open the map, they're at a set location. Alright, I'll sneak in this gate. And a nice west gave us access to it. There's one other access point too, as I recall. It's kind of across the way, maybe down over here. But yeah, I don't know that it's possible even to get really large machinery in here. I know I was commenting on that earlier, kind of thinking ahead of trying to get the harvest in quicker, that maybe I'd have to give up my beloved little hillside combine, and well, basically I already have given it up. I sold the thing, but I was thinking I would sell it just to make a little money. I mean, I've basically been desperate to try to keep my bills paid in here, as everyone knows, and so I finally sold the combine, and was thinking I would just, in the future, rent it back for when I did harvests. But I may go to bigger kit, kind of in the future too, to try to get it in quicker. But the problem with bigger equipment is there are some fields, like this one, that I don't know that I can get it in here. Rubbing up against the fence, because there's most of the fields, Wes gave away. He put multiple entrances to them, and there's a wide entrance, and then there's a narrow entrance, but like this here, there's only narrow entrances. So, but maybe if I came through with I probably could do it with a header trailer, And this one up here, okay, oh, that's a narrow entrance. Maybe it has a wider one somewhere else. Like I say, most of them has that. And he maybe never intended for someone to raise a crop kind of in the pasture over here. I'm just trying to do it to, like I say, out of desperation, trying to make as much money as I can to keep the farm afloat. So, but at some point, once I have cattle going, even though technically the dairy would work fine, I just think it would look a little funny because I think this is where the cattle roam, is out here. So if you have a crop of something going out here and then you have cattle wandering around in it, that really doesn't make sense. Plus, if you figure they need the grass to graze on, so I fully intend, once I start a dairy, to get this all replanted to grass. Turn around the corner here. I might just do this one entire thing around and around. Should have enough to... Yeah, the pace is going to be a little bit slower going now that I'm in the smaller fields. That other one is beautiful because you can make a lot of progress just setting up your GPS and go into town. You get in these smaller fields and you're constantly turning around, and yeah, it's just some tougher farming, which is great. Makes it an awesome map. For sure, for sure. And you know, by the same token, if Wes didn't intend for someone to farm this in here, why is there a gate? It could be, maybe he just wanted a passage across the pasture so you could get from this paddock over here to the barns down there. But it may also be the premise that I know that he has built into the map manual that he put together. You know, all of the fields, well, all of them that aren't arable, that is, and all the ones you need to first, you know, go in with a plow to tear it up, all of them have a strip of grass around the outer edge and obviously grazed grass in the middle. I think that's kind of how we stated it. And so if the whole premise of the map is that all these fields, you know, had livestock in them, well, then of course you need gates and everything to bring them in, and you would need a gate at your main farm to get the cattle out of, so maybe moving them pasture to pasture as needed. So I'm just tickled that Wes comes and watches me dabble around on his map. I can't speak for him, but because I've never created a map, but I have created my own mods, and I gotta say, it is a great kick in the pants. You know, when you create something and you release it, you know, that you worked hard on, it is really fun watching to see how people use your mod, see what they do with it. Maybe they find a bug and it's like, oh, I better go fix that. But it's really fun to see what they do with it. So hopefully it's given him some enjoyment, even if he's no longer involved in farming sim. But you sure could come back at any time, Wes. And maybe you already are. Maybe you're dreaming and concocting your next great mapping vision. Because this one was just outstanding. And it just came out of nowhere. You know, this is, to my knowledge, Wes can correct it if I get this wrong, but to my knowledge, this is the only map he ever did and released in Farming Sim. So, and I seem to recall the 13 version, I might be wrong on this, but I almost think the 13 version of the map was released after Farm Sim 15 was already going. And then, of course, he got right on the stick and created the version that he did for Farm Sim 15, got it all converted over. I guess what I'm trying to say is he appeared on the scene after 13, so people never could fully appreciate the map while most people were playing Farm Sim 13. But he did get it on there on people's radar for Farm Sim 15. But then he disappeared, kind of. We know where you're at, Wes. We know you're hiding on the internet. You got your own YouTube channel and everything. But like so many maps, I don't feel this one was ever appreciated enough for what it is. And had it been available earlier, maybe there'd be even more people who would have played it or whatever. And there was a lot who did too. It's just one of those maps, at least for me. It's just a fabulous map, got under my skin, and I can't put the thing down and put it away. But for the moment, I maybe have to put it away. Everybody heard the bell ring as I've jibber-jabbered another half hour in here as I continue trying to get our crop boot heeled into the pasture. Got this field to do, and then I'll be moving on to our other fields on this side and try to get this done as quick as I can. Oh, and I don't even want to forget the sheep grass areas up there. I'm going to need some grass for these sheep. I know I talked about ripping some of those fields out and planting them to grass up there, so because they were totally grazed out, just to have more material to cut. So I definitely have a boatload of work ahead of me this fall, I guess I'll call it, to get everything attended to and fully planted. But for the moment, thank you for coming along on this episode. I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.